Hello, everyone, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is the new episode of Maintaining Frame. Trying something a little different this time. We're recording on Riverside as we are doing the stream. So since Riverside uses your camera, I figure we'll just be on camera while we do this. So, welcome to the show, and let's see. Here's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be responding to a video that was put out on Dr. Warren Farrell's channel, where he made an appearance on Dr. Phil. I don't know how new this actual, because this might have been older, but maybe he just now got around to putting it up. I don't know how long ago this was recorded, is what I mean. But I thought it was kind of interesting. And Cassie J is on there, and it's always nice to see Cassie.
Yeah, it is.
So
looking good.
She is. She's looking good, and yeah, I thought it would be interesting to look at. So, do you want to do the things before we get started? Just making sure that this is working on everybody's end here.
Yep. There's always a bit of a process to achieve liftoff here at Honey Badger Radio. Yeah. So, if you would like to send us a message at any point throughout the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. I think we got a few messages in between shows, so we'll have to read those out. And if you would like to support the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. The current fundraising goal has been concluded, but because of a sort of a snafu in the back end, I'm increasing it by a little bit. So there's about $190 left to go on the fundraiser. Apologize by that, just a little bit of miscommunication. So if you want to help us out, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and throw a few shekels in the hat. We're pretty damn close here, just another $190. So there you go, feedthebadger.com/support. feedthebadger.com/support. And again, if you want to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, well, let's look into the video now. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here, and looks like it's putting it up there. So this is Dr. Phil, and he is talking with Cassie J and Warren Farrell. Put it up a little bit more. You can see more of it, and a couple of other guests. So fortunately it's not that long, and it's broken up into some decent sections. So we'll just start with Dr. Phil's opening, and this is being shared from Dr. Warren Farrell's YouTube account. So I don't know, whatever you call it. I'm sure Dr. Farrell won't come after us for playing his video. So
no, although Dr. Phil might, but then again, Dr.
Phil let Dr. Farrell put the video
upload
up
it.
on
So
his
we'll
channel.
see. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get through 22 minutes. Did you get any highlights?
I know some moments. I don't have the time codes exactly, but I know where they are in the video.
Yeah, I mean, we probably won't be talking much after Warren or Dr. Farrell or Cassie makes a statement. I'm pretty sure we'll be agreeing with them. They'll have very little to disagree with.
Mostly, there might not be much to disagree with there. Cassie doesn't show up until about halfway through. So it opens up with Dr. Phil and a couple of feminist women. Yeah. So
oh boy, that's gonna be fun.
Dr. Warren Farrell and a couple of feminists. Or just women. Let's just be real. Okay, but let's play this opening. We should get the groundwork laid out by Dr. Phil himself.
Breaking news, a suspect in a deadly ambush at a federal judge's home in New Jersey found dead. Detectives are now looking into what could have motivated him to allegedly shoot and kill the judge's son and critically wound her husband.
This is actually a while ago.
This had a history of anti-feminist lawsuits.
The murder of a prominent men's rights movement attorney in San Bernardino County may be linked to the shooting at a New Jersey home of a federal judge. Harry Crouch is president of the National Coalition for Men. He says he's known Mark Angelucci for more than 20 years.
Okay, let's stop this for a second.
Everybody in the men's rights movement.
Mark Angelucci.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that this is old news, but I don't think that this video is old. If that makes sense. I think that
just prefacing it.
Yeah, they're giving us a bit of background. R.I.P. Mark Angelucci. He was loved by everyone. He was super nice to me. I didn't know we did interview him, yes, and I've seen him at almost every meetup. Mark Angelucci was there, so yeah,
he was the most
definitely like
optimistic, sweet-natured guy. Like it's
absolutely
really
He was a real G.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I'm trying to adjust this a little bit more so I don't look so low. All right. So we're gonna continue on that, but I think this is just all preface groundwork stuff. Plus, very nice to see all these familiar faces. Harry Crouch.
Yeah.
It's
been a while.
Yeah.
It's almost been a coof ago.
It's been more than a coof ago.
More than a coof.
He was very passionate. He worked for me for free. When I heard the news, I was horrified. What happened to him was completely unfair.
Mark was our savior. You talk about a man who died for what he believed in. We're doing this for Mark.
All right, so that's, again, F's in the chat. All right.
Dr. Warren Farrell is a world-renowned professor, speaker, and author of several books, including The Boy Crisis. He has been dubbed the Martin...
So The Boy Crisis is not that old. I mean, it's a few years old. But this is like, so you guys can see, this is post 2017, because I think that's around the time that he was promoting his book. So after that, for sure, probably pretty recent, I'd say 2022 or so, but I don't know for sure.
Luther King of the men's movement. Take a look.
Is there a boy crisis? Think about when we hear of a police officer shooting a black boy. We rightly protest, Black Lives Matter, but no one even thinks of saying boys' lives matter. The UN found that boys have fallen behind girls in 70 developed nations. What do developed nations have in common? A much greater propensity for divorce, leaving boys without their dads, being much...
Again, just pausing for the banana. Nothing disagreeable here. So we'll just keep going.
More likely to do badly in school, being more likely to be suicidal, homicidal, being more likely to be in prison.
Samantha Edis is a feminist CEO of female-run business Park Place Payments and a married mom of 3 children. Now, Samantha says that Dr. Warren's views are not only outdated, they are damaging to women and to men alike.
Okay, now here's where the rage comes. Obviously, feminist, mother, entrepreneur, does it all. She doesn't like what Warren Farrell's saying. Probably Warren Farrell's too nice, in my opinion. That's how nice he is. Like, he's like, I mean, I respect him tremendously, but sometimes I'm just like, like, could you just get the guns out?
Yeah.
But okay.
I don't know. I think that would be like, I don't know, a sign of the apocalypse if Warren Farrell ever loses his cool.
I've never seen it.
Things are bad.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Things are bad.
He does a lot of yoga and meditation. That's what he told me when I saw him. Okay.
It shows.
I'm Samantha Edis. I'm a mom of 3. I live with my husband and 2 daughters and a son. I also run a company focused on helping women achieve financial independence. I also have written a few books. Today, 42% of moms in America are the primary breadwinners. I think that's what equality looks like. My husband and I both work full time, so we have a very busy life, but there's an understanding between us that we're equals. The construct of our world is set up today as a giant thank you card to white men.
Okay, well, just yeah. The world of today is set up as
I can tell you one way you're not equals. Morally, you've just established yourself as his moral superior right there. She's morally dominant over her man. Okay, well. I'm pretty sure this is just the new if your wife ain't happy, nobody's happy thing.
Like, happy wife, happy life. Yeah. Perhaps. I mean, it's okay, just to be, because I know that these TV spots, they're always like edited like a lot because they want to cut it down to like the best bits and then put that out there. But I'm not hearing a lot of appreciation for her husband, who probably made her life comfortable enough for her to pursue this business, right? Probably.
Yeah. Well, he's probably underwriting it, so.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay.
You look at the history of our country from the Constitution to our current laws, most of them were designed by white men with white men in mind. Everyone in my
stop. All right. Okay. White men earned that right because they fought a war to create the Constitution. Right? They fought a war. They fought and died to construct the country. I mean, I was thinking about this because men who were part of the lower classes in the UK didn't have the vote until after World War I, until after they were dying in the trenches. And the rationale for giving them the right is because they had made the ultimate sacrifice for ensuring the existence of the society. I should get a little closer to the mic, sorry. And I was thinking about this and I was like, well, I guess American men. But then I thought about it. No, American men died in the Revolutionary War to set up the Constitution and the country, the U.S., from the very beginning. So they were the ones who fought and died to construct this document. And now she's saying, well, it's made for men, for the white men. Well, yeah, they were the ones who fought and died to construct the document, like to have the opportunity to make this document the law of the land. That's who did that. And you're just rendering that invisible. You're just ignoring that part. You're ignoring the cost and the sacrifice of that document, of those laws. Those laws wouldn't exist and they would have no power if they hadn't fought and died to establish the independence that began the whole shebang. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, of course.
And she's just completely ignoring that. It's like, yeah, lady, they gave you a place eventually, like, and they gave you legal equality, and no step on the road did you demonstrate the same level of sacrifice or commitment as a man to society. And yet you have the same voice. That's not equality.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing how little educated, very famous people that do very well are. Like, I mean, I'm just amazed by it. Like, to be able to just say it was made by white men for white men while living probably a really good life that's very cushy thanks to your white man. It's amazing. It's amazing.
As a feminist, from my 10-year-old son to my girls and my husband. I think
those poor people.
Yes to the margarita with your friends and leave the dirty dishes in the sink.
Well,
oh my God. Leave the dirty dishes in the sink, because how demeaning is that? She probably has a cleaning lady, honestly. Yeah. I bet she does. But anyway.
Yeah, she leaves the margaritas in the sink for Margarita.
Well, thank you both for joining the conversation.
Look at how, like, is this even fair? Like, Dr. Phil has Dr. Warren Farrell, who's written countless books. He was on the board for the National Organization for Women. He is like really well educated on this subject. He's got all the data on his side, and then he brings on a soccer mom who, like, basically her husband funds everything, and she, like, writes a couple of books too.
Well, we don't know that.
I mean, we don't know that. We don't know. She could be a dynamo.
I really doubt that we're looking at a family in which she's the breadwinner. I doubt it, but
I do too.
Possible. It's possible.
Possible.
She doesn't look like the kind of woman who would tolerate such a loss in status as to not have married a man who makes more than her. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm completely wrong.
All right, let's watch some more.
We appreciate it. Also joining us from Boston is lawyer, lecturer, and ardent feminist Wendy Murphy, who believes the last thing men need is a movement.
It's a little bit awkward, to put it mildly, to say that the people in power need a movement when we think about movements as the things we hear about from either racial minorities or women or other classes of people who have suffered in some way and are marginalized. They're the ones who need a movement because they're just struggling to achieve basic equality.
You know,
Men
it's
have
interesting
always
because
had-
this particular narrative, because men are in power, they don't need advocacy for their issues. I mean, it doesn't actually really make sense from if you looked at it from a class analysis, because it's not men in power, it's men of a certain class in power. And then lower than that class, they definitely would need advocacy. It used to be that unions and supposedly like Marxism, I know, would say that they advocated for those particular men, but of course they abandoned that completely. They don't even give the pretense of doing so anymore. So it's like,
well, that was because a workers' revolution didn't work because most of the workers being men, they were like, no, I think I'd rather be free and own my own shit and raise my own kids and take care of my own family by the sweat of my brow.
Yeah.
And so they were like, whoa, we need to come up with something else. How about we turn the women against them? Like,
okay, well, but what's interesting is they use the fact that they're men in power to justify why their issues should never or are already covered. Even though it's patently true, it's patently false, they're already covered. Like there's obvious issues that men face. And yet she's using that as an excuse to ignore them. An excuse to ignore them. But the thing is that the people in power, whoever is in situations of responsibility, who's ever, I guess, running society, not really in power necessarily of it, they don't necessarily advocate for their own issues. Like that's not the case. It's such a simplistic analysis of power. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the power between men and women, because women very much define men's identities. They define them in terms of being providers and protectors of women, right? And if you're defined as a provider and protector of a woman, when you get into power, all that's going to happen is that power is going to serve women, period. So you can't look at who's in power. Because the people in power don't necessarily benefit themselves when their identities are controlled by someone else. I mean, kings were in power, but ultimately in many cases the power lay with the church. Why? Because the church defined their identities as Christians, right? Same thing with women. Men are defined in terms of providing and protecting for women. That means when they get into power, that power goes to the service of their identity. They don't identify with their sex in the same way. It doesn't seem like it. Otherwise, we wouldn't say things like, be a real man. What does a real man mean? It means that you have provided and protected the people who are vulnerable. It doesn't mean you have a penis. You know, it's not just that. It's not everything. Every man is considered a real man. So, I mean, right there, you see that the identity isn't taken from physically being male. It's taken from living up to the standard of protecting and providing for others. So that, again, what's in power isn't the men. What's in power is where they take their identity from. And where they take their identity from is protecting and providing for women. All right. Yep. So this entire analysis is extremely simplistic, extremely childish, extremely lacking of any kind of nuance or understanding of human psychology.
Yep. Once again,
it's mainstreamed. It's
like it is very mainstream. Like spoilers, guys. You're not going to hear any arguments from the feminists that you have not heard since before you were born. Like it's going to be the same tune because it's the only one they know. Men bad, women most affected, basically in every instance. So, and it has nothing to do with actually giving a crap about men or women. It's just about lining their pockets and remaining relevant. But let's keep going.
Equality and then some.
Samantha, what do you think about this?
Yeah, that's what men want. They want equality and then some. I don't even think they want equality. They just want you to stop crapping on them. Yeah, I know.
I think it's so unfortunate because I think that men
and
women
get
in some ways are suffering, and that when
well, I you know, it's like they get to serve for ladies first, I guess, but it's okay because like they don't really have anything. It's gonna be they don't really have anything, honestly. They're just making this like you know how people say, why are you like debating college feminist women or teenage feminists in their bedrooms? Ultimately, there's no difference between them and you know, a feminist with multiple PhDs because they say the same crap. It's the same crap. So it doesn't matter who it's coming from. If you know, it's like they're literally doing like it's like a fly ball. You know, you can just catch it like, because it's the same garbage all the time. So Samantha Ettis and the other woman, you're not going to hear anything unique from them that I wouldn't hear from like Lacey Green when she was doing YouTube. It's going to be the same stuff.
I hope Lacey Green is just married and having kids now.
I don't know what she's up to lately. I know that she started doing a show where she was like talking to people like more like frankly and openly and stuff, but I don't know where she stands on thing. I haven't seen her in forever.
In race, in gender, everyone wins. And if we approached it as, okay, if women have economic equality, then men are also let off the hook a little bit. Then they have less pressure. So I actually think that saying kind of, I've looked at a lot of your views, Warren. A lot of what you say is
you
that
sweet
men are
summer child.
I know, right? If women are making the same amount as men, that makes men's life easier, right, girls?
Well, she thinks that.
Yeah, that women are just gonna be like totally fine with like being like an equal parts breadwinner, or even the primary breadwinner.
Exactly.
And this is like,
they're not just going to increase their expectations.
No, exactly. Well, this is what I'm saying. It's the same argument. And I'm at the point now where it's like, if you haven't started asking yourself why women are not responding to this in the way that you presume, or you ask us to presume, then you must know that this is actually not working. Like, you must know this. What's actually, what's really happening right now? There was a recent statistic that showed that the youngest generations of boys have the highest rates of virginity, and people are trying to blame porn. Like, this has been going around, like Lauren Southern's trying to do this cope where she's like, oh, it's porn. No, women are literally becoming harems for the top 1%. That's what's happening. There are a small number of men that have access to more women, and this is a byproduct of, like this sort of like hookup culture and that kind of thing. So a large number of men are just being left behind, not because they're not living up, not because they're not measuring up, but because they're not the peak guy. And that is literally happening right now. Mm-hmm. And this is like 100% proof, in my opinion, that what this woman is claiming is that, oh, well, if we're both economic equality, if we have that, then women are going to be like cool with it and men are going to be cool with it because it takes a load off of them. No, it's not working out. Women are just going to raise their standards. They're going to raise their standards, and it doesn't matter what their beliefs are. It doesn't matter what their politics are. None of that matter. It doesn't matter how trad they are. They're going to look at their situation and say, I can do better. Mm-hmm. Because they have a instinct to do that. They are the table. That's right.
And they are not allowed to say that. Like, they're allowed to say that. Women are allowed to say that. Women are allowed to shout it to the hills. I'm the table. What do you bring to the table? Which translates to, how are you better than me? How do you have more than me? How are you superior to me? Right? Mm-hmm. That's what it translates to. And we're not allowed to point out that that's what women are doing statistically. And that's what they say they're doing. They want the bag. Right?
Yes.
Okay, all
right, let's keep going.
Summer child here.
To be the breadwinner, but hold the door, right? Is that fair?
Yes.
And I think if you look at it, the pressure will be off of men if we achieve economic equality.
So I very much agree with Samantha. We have women, to the degree that they succeed and achieve, free men to not have to put all the pressure on men just to be the breadwinner and to experience what I call the father's catch-22. Men.
So, yeah, I mean, he's agreeing because I think he has a more of a yes and approach.
Yes, he does.
They're not even
man.
super gentle.
Gentleman was mobbed by rabid feminists.
They accuse him of all kinds of terrible stuff.
They trot out the whole playbook. Everybody knows the playbook by now, right? Misogynist, rape apologist,
incest supporter, pedophile, like that. I mean, they did all of it. Yeah, they did. All of it. And a lot of them probably, like the college kids, they probably don't even really know. They were just told this about him.
They don't even know who he is.
And yeah, they don't even know who he is. So
let's get to the meat
often
here.
Experience when they have children They feel pressure to.
I could skip this. Like Dr. Farrell does the whole thing where it's like, you know, men also have 3 options. They can work full time, or work full time. So
yeah, well, let's play it through. You know, we'll stop for the banana.
All right, I'll go.
We're going pretty quick. Good clip.
Economically is the degree to which that is minimized. We're all in the same family boat, Dr. Phil. When only one sex wins, both sexes lose.
Well, but one of the things that I have to disagree with, or at least expand on, is when you're talking about this economic equality, you're defining currency in one dimension. And I've been married for 44 years, and Robin, who now at this stage of our life is very successful.
That's Dr. Phil's wife there, Robin. And that's right. That's another thing I was going to mention. When she said economic equality, I know this is a buzzword for some of you guys, but that's materialism. This is like a problem with these modern women, is that they're told that if you have stuff, you're going to be happy, and it does not make them happy. It's not fulfilling. In fact, what men generally want more than anything is to be able to spend time with their children, which you can't like put a dollar amount to, you know? So like we're looking at there's a bit of talking past each other, because she should know that like just having access to things like margaritas and trips or whatever, I mean, that stuff is fleeting. Like it's a weird thing to like become an activist over, you know. I want more stuff. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I mean,
it makes sense with the logic of not realizing that the Constitution was bought with men's blood. Like,
yeah,
let's be
right.
Honest. Like
she just thinks that that's just more. It's just more. It's a piece of paper that gives men more. Yeah, because they want more stuff.
Who gave American men the Constitution?
I thought it was the king.
It wasn't the king. Oh God. Do you know what gave it to them? What gave American men the Constitution was their willingness to fight for the autonomy of their nation. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
So that document that she says is just the thank you letter to white men, it was bought by men's blood. Of course it's a thank you letter to white men and black men to a degree.
Well, no, I agree 100%, because like that's the thing she's trying. She puts the white descriptor on there to poison the well, but like the truth is that it was the Christian framework that allowed the Americans, the colonists, to realize that slavery was wrong. It was just a matter of how long it was going to take to abolish it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, but what I'm getting at is that black men also proved that they were willing to fight for the nation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that, as a result, it came, franchisement came from that. I have seen the letters that were written justifying franchise for black men based on their service to the state. Okay. So yeah, eventually that this also became a thank you letter. It's not just to white men, but black men also sacrificed for it too. Asian men sacrificed for it too. The only group of people that did not sacrifice for it was women. Okay? And so do not tell me that this is a thank you letter to all the men who sacrificed for its existence.
It's true.
Right. And it is really unfortunate that women are allowed to have this misperception of reality. And of course, men just accept it because, again, men's identities are defined by protecting and providing for women. They just want women to be happy. You know? They just don't, and also to have a little space where they don't have to do shit. That's it. Like,
that's right. That's it.
They don't actually say, no, actually, and this is really unfortunate. It takes a while for men to learn how to do this, to stand up for themselves. It really does. Like, it really does. But to say, hey, no, we men earned this. We earned this as a group because the Constitution had no place to exist before we made that place by dying for it.
I'm gonna play more.
Entrepreneur economically, but early on she chose to be a stay-at-home mom, and there is no amount of money that I could have spent to equate to what she contributed to the family. Then once she fulfilled that role, she said, okay, now I want to step out. And that doesn't mean that you can't
Well,
be
it was very nice of you to accommodate that. I mean, do you see what's not being said here? Phil made that happen for his wife.
Yes.
He did what it took to give her these choices.
Yes.
Is that going to be recognized at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's keep going.
And do that as well. She just chose to do it in a serial fashion. But she's very economically successful now, but she was very economically critical to our family at that time as well.
When those children come, women have three choices.
Oh,
They say, I
good
want to work full-time.
All right, I'm gonna skip the three choices
Actually,
thing.
let me
You want me to
hear-
play that?
Yeah, because it's not what's making me say good Lord. It's just this
Yeah, I know.
Involved with the
examinedness.
children, or I want to do some combination of the both. And 40% of married women work full-time, 40% are involved with the children full-time, 20% are part-time workers. But oftentimes men in those same positions say, well, I have three choices too. Option one is I can work full-time. Option two is I can work full-time. And option three is I can work full-time. And we call that liberation, when in fact it's not liberation, it's an obligation to earn money.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them get their violins out for you here. We have to take a break. We're going to meet a man who says his hatred for women grew.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, Warren Farrell's right.
They have had to speak this entire. They've spoken for how long? And he got like one soundbite in. I mean, yeah, Dr. Phil was right. They're not getting their violins out for them, because if they did, they'd have to actually recognize how much men work and sacrifice for women. Not just how much, I mean, they don't even recognize how much men had to sacrifice for the Constitution in the first place. Like, I find this entire dialogue embarrassing as a woman, because I recognize the level of sacrifice that went into the existence of that document. The existence of a free Britain after World War I and II. Okay, I recognize the level of sacrifice that men have made throughout history for their societies, and it is embarrassing to watch a woman with a child who has gone through menopause, yap about how that document is somehow a thank you card? Actually, a thank you card is a good way of putting it. You're right. And it is 100% earned. But to pretend like that's an unearned, that they didn't earn that. They were the ones who did earn it. They earned it.
Yes, they did.
And they don't want to see that, because then they have to recognize how much of their life, how much of that woman's life is founded on her husband's work and isn't really necessarily her alone, okay? And how much Dr. Phil is making his wife's life possible. And yeah, sure, she took care of his kids, but she's taking care of her own kids too. Like, I mean, really. Okay.
All right, he's gonna go to a break.
He started dating men.
Oh, I should wait. Let me see.
He was so strong, he started dating men.
Hey, wait, that was weird.
It's out for you here.
What's wrong here?
We have to take a break. We're going to meet a man who says his hatred for women grew so strong, he started dating men.
Well, that's quite a hook.
I don't think it works that way, but anyway, we'll talk to him next.
Apparently it does for him.
I hate women. I think they're evil. I think they're manipulative. I think they're all bitches.
All this has driven me to a point where I'm dating a man now. I literally have a boyfriend because I couldn't put up with women anymore.
Or I'm pausing there for the banana. So here comes the I guess the
like how much?
No, the Jerry Springer character.
Oh,
this guy. Like, let me know in the chat when you hear from him. Is this guy a plant? Because I'm like, I've never heard of him before, and yet he gets on Dr. Phil. I think it's really weird. I've spoken to incels. I've spoken to MGTOW, people who are really frustrated with the way things are, and I've never heard of this guy. So let me know if you guys think he's like a Fed or something, like just there to stir shit up, you know.
Before we get into it, though, I probably should do a few thank yous.
Oh yeah, do some thank yous.
Yeah. Don't forget to send those super chows in. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip, guys. Tell us what you think about this. In particular, what do you think about this nonsense we're watching right now? But I should give a thank you to Irishima?
Irishima,
who gives us $75. This is not to the $75, and also
thank you. Come again.
PLM, who gave us $25. And if you would like to help us
Wow.
the last little bit of the fundraiser, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help us out. Very much appreciated. Just a little bit of gap. And thank you to everybody who got us to this goal. Sorry that there's a little bit of gap left, but if we could get that covered, I'd really appreciate it. I really don't want to have to do arm twisting because I was like, oh, it's a break. I get to take a break from doing that, but if I have to, I will. If you guys make me, I will do it. How's that for passive aggressive? All right. Let's do it.
There has reportedly been a growing number of male-only groups whose animosity towards females is accelerating at an alarming rate. Now, my next guest is a former spokesman for one such group, and he says, well, in his words, he hates women so much that he started dating men.
Are they going to try to understand this guy or just be like, oh my God, I can't believe it?
Well, I don't want to give that away.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. Look at it this way. Men's identities, protecting and providing for women, right? They're probably just going to confirm that, right? They can't believe, they don't even know what he is because he exists outside of that. You know, it's like an alien walked onto stage. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Video stating exactly how he feels about women.
I'm Jack Peterson. I was the spokesperson for the incel community. It's a bunch of guys who have trouble getting laid.
I hate women. I think they're evil and manipulative. They're all bitches, just lying whores, all of them.
Men are discriminated against in our society. Men really are like the new minority. And I think that we need to regain control of women again.
Poisoning the well.
Way it used to be in the 1950s. All this has driven me to
in the
a point
19
where...
Are you...
Yeah, I know, right? Let's finish his thing. But like, this is like a little unbelievable. Like, I remember when Brendio was on like that like Jubilee thing, and he was saying some kind of like wild stuff. But this is like, this is like no ma'am, like Married with Children level stuff. Is this real? Like, I'm sorry.
No ma'am.
I'm dating a man.
Level.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend because I couldn't put up with women anymore. I couldn't put up with being cheated on by women.
You know what?
And
I
lied
think...
to and betrayed. And so I've pretty much
Wait,
gone
was
gay.
he an incel or was he dating? Like, this is really...
He ran an incel. That's what I'm saying. Like, this kind of glows in the dark. He ran, and I don't know, this is the thing too, like, again, I have to say, we're watching Dr. Phil, okay? This is a very popular show. Dr. Phil was friends with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey had Dr. Warren Farrell on her show, I think in the 70s or 80s. So, like, these are massive celebrities. And when they get people on that are like probably at a comparable level of they should be at a comparable level of, say, like renown, like Dr. Warren Farrell, who's probably like the most well-known MRA in the world. Like I mean, just off the top of my head, definitely in the US, but probably in the whole world, right? And he gets on these big talk shows. He's like, it works because he's got the appropriate candor. He's very polite. He's soft. He's well spoken. He obviously will never attack feminism. You know, he will always like put women like at least at equal footing or be really kind because he doesn't want them to destroy him for it, I guess, or he really believes it, which I think is more likely the case. But this guy, I've never heard of him. Like, how does somebody like that get on Dr. Phil?
Because
like, if that's not
used. He's being used.
I mean, yeah, sure. It's true. I mean, he's seen, that's what I'm saying. I think he's a plant. Either like he's paid off by fucking George Soros or something, or he is like they were like, let's find the craziest person and the most radical person we can get our hands on, or someone who just wants to start,
let me tell you what they're doing.
Like to raise their profile and put them on our show.
Okay, let me tell you what they're doing. Okay, they have Warren Farrell there. The issues that men face are becoming so obvious and impossible to ignore, right? So what they do is they bring this guy on and they handicap Warren Farrell. They basically put a neck chain around Warren Farrell's neck and tie him to this stone weight with this guy. Because there is absolutely no reason for this man to be here except to discredit Warren Farrell and his position and force Warren Farrell to answer to him, which is ridiculous because Warren shouldn't have to answer to this individual. This individual is constructed by women's opinions on TikTok. It's constructed by women's opinions on YouTube. It's constructed by the incredibly callous, mercenary attitudes that are being presented. It's constructed by the fact that we now exist in this like soft polygamy. It's constructed by the fact that women didn't get rid of their standards for providership. They just increased them. And it's also constructed by feminist narrative saying that only certain things are masculine now and they're all negative, right? This person, this man, this guy is a construction of Warren Farrell's opponents. He is their shit golem. And they're trotting him out in order and say, oh, well, look, Warren, this is a man. You answer to him. I'm like, well, no, this is your shit golem. You shit this guy out. It's your mess. Not Warren Farrell's, but that's what I think they're doing. I haven't seen this before.
No, absolutely. It's like they said, okay, we're gonna have this really educated guy who's very knowledgeable and very polite and nice talk about men's issues. So what we need is somebody that represents everything that we hate about MRAs. So let's and they had feminists make a list of everything wrong with MRAs and with men, and then they were like, we're gonna make a person out of all this. It was like Serpentor. Like take the DNA of every hater, of every every misogynist fantasy they could come up with, every warlord, whatever, it's the caricature. That's exactly it. He's bald and has a beard and he like curses and it's like he's perfect. Like he's their perfect creation.
Yeah, exactly. And then
nobody I've ever met. And they put him on the show. Exactly.
Little tap dance for them. Their shit golem is doing their little tap dance. Why should we have to answer to it? Why is why is the discussion even being brought down to this level? Right?
Yeah. For sure.
But the ultimate goal of this entire structure is to simply make Dr. Phil's
to ascend. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to make them keep them in their echo chamber.
Who is Dr. Phil's audience? It's women. Like women are the majority. Like remember, he was a friend of Oprah's. I don't know if they're still friends, but he was a friend of Oprah's. So his audience is Oprah's audience. This is what we're dealing with. So yes, there's no way that this guy is not, 100% like fake in one fashion or another. But let's
They didn't choose you, Brian. They chose this dude.
No.
Okay, let's keep going.
Well, Jack joins us live from Chicago. You said some things in that video very demeaning about women. Do you really feel that way?
Okay, and meanwhile, this stupid bear meme is going like freaking viral. Nah, I would rather meet a man in the woods than a bear, or I would rather meet a bear in the woods than a man.
Yeah. Take the bear pill.
So freaking well, the bear pill is as far as I'm concerned now, it's if you're going to assert that, then let's imagine a city of bears in which all of your interactions with men are replaced with interactions with bears.
Yeah.
Where you want, fine, go live in that city. Hell, imagine the city of women. Considering what women do to each other in prison, the city of women is going to be an utter nightmare. But whatever. It's men. That's
oh my God.
The problem. Yeah. Okay.
Women are evil. I honestly believe that women have the capacity to love. Women have the capacity to be good, but they.
It says former spokesperson for incel group. They didn't even get into the specific group. Anyway, let's.
You don't want to advertise.
None of this seems real to me.
And now this is a show about men's.
Look at Warren Farrell's like, why have they put this guy on the panel with me?
No, this is the moment that he realized that this is total shit.
Yeah, right. Like, this is not real.
This is a clown show.
We need to take away women's rights to make things good again.
Are you serious about this, or are you just saying this to be provocative?
Yeah, unintentionally based? Question mark. I'm sorry.
I really am dating a man. I've been cheated on numerous times. I've been betrayed.
Why were you
I'm sick of
in
women. I really
incel
truly am.
form?
And
Why were you? Okay, so he was the head of an incel form.
You're taking the illusion too seriously, I think. Let's not take the illusion. Don't look too closely at the illusion. Just enjoy it.
Okay.
Treat it like a fireworks show. Don't try to analyze the physics.
That's right. Just treat him like a fireworks show.
Yeah.
You were just burying your head in your hands when he was saying what he was
Because
saying.
okay, no.
Relationship with women.
Now you're
anybody
taking
in the world. You do not control.
You're
them.
taking responsibility for him, Warren.
Yeah, he wants you. Well,
Responsibility for him.
I think that he's trying to like pivot to something else. I think that he knows that this guy is thrown in. He's like a monkey wrench.
Open your heart to them. You hear it when they're upset and they're angry. You hear them out.
Wendy, you're on screen next to Jack. You might want to scoot a little bit to your right. But what do you want to say?
Oh my goodness, I was going to ask if his real name
So
was
how did this become about?
Yeah, we're just gonna attack this guy now.
No, yeah, but seriously, like this guy has made everything about defending women. Was this not about men's issues?
I don't know.
I guess.
I mean, yes, I get it. No, I get it is because there is a great poll. There was a poll that he did at the beginning of the show that he mentions at the end of this video that I think is worth looking at. But I got a Super Chow. I got a Super Chow from Great Indoors, and he gives us $10 and says, "I'm wondering how well that first woman's business is doing. If the goal of her company is as vague, helping other women thrive, I bet it's some kind of useless NPO. You mean like NGO maybe? Where the CEO nonprofit, yeah, okay. Where the CEO takes in hundreds of thousands of dollars per year from the government, spreading propaganda in the way Allison has talked about in previous shows." Yeah, that's probably right. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say that, I don't know. Like I said, these women seem pretty well off and apparently connected because they were able to get on Dr. Phil's show. So
yeah,
there you go.
Dr. Phil is wasting his time with these people, though. It's a clown show.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what era he's from, but it sure doesn't match up with any era I've ever seen.
Really? I thought that men are. I thought that men control women in this era. That's what you're.
Yeah, I thought this was the current. I thought this was the current year. I thought this guy was not. I thought he was typical. So now you have to like explain to us how you're still oppressed, but this guy is an outlier. How are you gonna do that?
How they brought this guy on because he's not charismatic. He looks awkward and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just doesn't. So he's basically brought here to just discredit anything and then turn it back into, well, okay, we need to center women and women's feelings and women's rights and women. Which I think that's what a civilization does. Like they just do it to its own destruction. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
Women is so offensive. It's really like having a guy come on and say, "I'm white. I hate black people. I think we should be able to just have."
How about you
slaves
use
and
a
control
woman's
black
example?
people." It's hate speech in the worst possible way. You know, you have a right to be cruel, mister. You can be as vile as you want. This is America. Your free speech rights dominate. But you're surprised
Yeah, for now, until you take away those rights.
that women don't like you? Hell, you should have gone gay years ago.
Wait, you didn't. You're getting the causal error wrong. He went gay as a result of women's behavior. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Should have gone gay years ago. Okay. Well, there you go. Okay, let's keep going. This guy's
very
a joke, but
super constructive.
Listen, lady. Here's the thing. Dr. Phil's wife stayed home. She took care of her, her children. She took care of the house, probably cooked and cleaned. And I bet it made for a happy marriage. She was not a career woman for years, and that was a successful situation.
So he's talking about Dr. Phil's wife. Now, Dr. Phil is going to be like, well, You're the lowest person on earth, so you can't even have a common sense opinion on my wife. But let's.
Well, geez.
In my opinion,
Well,
that's
okay,
how women should
so-
operate. They should not.
All right, 2 things. She is basically discrediting her own movement because she will assert that this is the way that women are treated. At the same time as she wants to judge this guy as being socially isolated because he says this is the way that women should be treated. Which is it? I mean, this guy is obviously just voicing the opinion of all men because you want to appeal to that, to the belief that men all have this opinion, at the same time as you want to say, well, you are just off in your own little corner as a misogynist, reflecting nothing of mainstream. Well, which is it? Choose one. And then now he's actually made a good point. Phil's wife was very traditional.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
All right.
Be in the workforce. Stay home. Do your job.
Whose wife are you talking about?
Your wife, Phil.
Oh.
Yeah,
but it's true.
Yeah, bad example to pick there, Jack.
My feeling is because I chose to be a stay-at-home mom and do my job passionately, take care of my home, our home, take care of our children, take care of our family, and take care of my husband, take care of myself, and did it so passionately, it therefore allowed Philip to do his job passionately.
How does that?
Yeah, well, there's nothing. That is exactly what he said.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing. If women loved men as they are, okay, you know, honestly, this whole idea that men don't pull their weight in chores, this bullshit. Time use survey after time use survey has shown that when you include paid work, when you include chores, when you include the going back and forth from work, men and women do almost identical amount of work. If not men doing about half an hour more. Okay, so this is just take that right off the table. All right. Also, married women are significantly happier than single women, so their husbands are making them emotionally happier. So let's take the emotional labor off the table. What married women are not losing out. Okay, let's take all of that off the table. Emotional labor. Now, what I'm getting at is if women wanted to be with men, if women loved men for their companionship, there wouldn't be a single man. Well, maybe a few, but they would find women who are interested in that. Most men wouldn't be saying, go back to the kitchen. What they're after is when women were in the kitchen, they loved men, or they at least appeared to love men, or appreciate or respect them. That's it. When men want women wherever will make women love them. Okay? I want these women to understand that whatever position women are in that makes them love men, that position most men want women to be.
You're going robo, Allison. Yeah, you're going robo. Your video froze too. I don't know why. Thanks, Riverside. Oh, you're back. Well, sort of.
No, it's probably my internet. You know, like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, let me clarify what I said. Okay, while I was going robo, I apologize for that. What I said was this: is that most men want women in whatever position makes women love them. That's it. That's what's so tragic about all of this. That's what utterly tragic about all of this. They bring this guy on, and he is disillusioned because he doesn't think there's any way for him to take an action that will lead to a woman loving him. That's it. And he's lost hope, so he's dating men. Probably because he's getting a better experience. At least he feels valued by his partner. Right?
Yep. And again, like, he's allowed to be embittered. Like, I don't see why we all have to, like, everybody, let's do a round table. Let's all dunk on the incel. Ha ha ha. You know, it's like, well, why do you think that this is something worth responding to, right? Like, does he does he teach children in schools? Does he run the media? He's just one guy with an opinion on you know what I mean? Like this, you guys you really you drill down on that. It's like finding Yeah, it's like finding out there's a spider in the bathroom. You just destroy it like with a flamethrower because you just don't want it to like multiply or something.
Well,
you know,
but what's really hilarious is he's not really an expert on being an incel because he's had girlfriends.
No, yeah, he's had girlfriends and boyfriends apparently.
What's he there for? He's not an expert
I
on
don't
any
know.
of this.
He's the caricature.
Local color. He's the local color.
He's the shit colored golem. The shit golem.
But he makes a good point. Like, and I'm going to translate this. He's basically saying, Phil, when your wife was in this particular position, she expressed love and respect for you. So I think that more women should be in that position because then they'll express love and respect for more women, for men. I don't know if he's right, but that's what he's saying. That's it.
Yeah.
And none of this is productive because it all takes place in a context of this kind of incredibly angry relationship between men and women, like this constant sense of conflict between men and women without an understanding that all most men want is to be able to put women in a position to use their skills and abilities to put women in a position in which women will love them. Am I wrong?
No.
This man is probably exactly the same. He doesn't hate women. He hates the fact that he thinks that it's impossible to be loved by a woman now. That's tragic.
Yep. All right, I got a super chat from Albert in a retro. He gave us $2 Canadian. Says he didn't go gay. He's an actor. Now I'm going to play more.
It's only because I was so passionate about my decision, he then had the opportunity to be passionate about his career.
Yeah, you literally said the same thing.
Let me say,
He even said, "I agree." Like he just said that. Of course, they're going to talk over him now because he's the bad guy. We've already cast him as the bad
This is actually
guy.
making me feel sort of ill
Let me
because
say,
it's
when
so
these
unhelpful.
Roles in our family.
when these decisions were made, by the way, we were so poor. I've often said if it wasn't for 2-for-1 burger bucks, one of us would have starved. And thank God she didn't eat near as much as I did. We have to take a break. A woman who...
Well, there again, just want to point out, I'm glad for you, Dr. Phil. You were with someone and you were poor and you managed to live by the means that were available to you until you made it work. This is good, but it's also rare. This is the problem. Today, that attitude would not fly. Like for many women would say, well, why you're a dusty bum. Why would I mess around with you? I could find like another man that has more. So like it only worked because you found a partner that was willing to work with you where you both were, where you were at, so that you could build something, and she supported you while you did that. You are literally explaining what the problem is by your own example as an attempt to dunk on this guy, this cartoon, this cardboard stand-up.
Relationship is his example.
Yes, who is pointing out that your relationship is the example that like would be best despite your economic circumstances. If anything, the woman on your panel that thinks it's all about money and economic equality and all that, she's probably the one that you're sort of opposing, even though you won't dare do that because you're kind of a simp. Because like you would have to convince her that having money or like access to material wealth is not as important as love and commitment and, you know, your relationship. So
who walked away from the feminist movement. She'll tell us why next.
Oh, this is Cassie J.
Before we get into Cassie J, I just wanted to...
Yeah. All right, let me pause it when after the commercial break. Okay.
Okay, all right. So I just want to remind everyone, I am still putting the fundraiser on just to fill in a bit of a gap, a sudden gap in our income and our expenses. So I know that I really appreciate everybody who got us up to the goal just a little bit more. So please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help us out with that. It's $190. It means a lot to us. I know it seems like a small amount, but it means a lot to the budget of the show. So feedthebadger.com/support. Please help us out. Again, your assistance is invaluable. We have made it this far because you guys help us cover our expenses every month. And yeah, so thank you to everybody who helps us out. And please do, let's just get it to that final amount at feedthebadger.com/support. I mean, now it really matters if you just put in like $5 or $10, because, you know, we get like maybe 20 people put in $10 and then we're done. So please, let's just get a little bit further and we'll be done for the month. So feedthebadger.com/support. I will do this again if I have to, but please just spare me. This is my one of my least favorite activities to do. All right, let's watch a little bit more.
All right.
Cassie J says a controversial documentary she made about the men's rights movement didn't just change her point of view, it changed her life. Take a look.
Men and boys are in crisis and they need your support.
Every society
That's Dean.
survived based on its ability to train its sons to be disposable.
93% of workplace
Paul.
fatalities are men. 4 of 5.
Big P.
The family court system truly is...
Harry Crouch.
But if you start to talk about those issues, people get hostile.
Oh shit, Big Red. Fucking scum girl.
The gender version of the...
Michael Kimmel.
We're not blaming men. We just named everything.
Michael Kimmel's been discredited.
Yeah, and Karen. Ended on the Karen. Yeah, so Michael Kimmel disgraced. That was like a bit of a, like, I had a rush of nostalgia wash over me when I saw those people. Like,
yeah.
These were the days. The woman, the Toronto woman with the piercings that was like, fucking scum, you know? It's a, you know, I love that Big Red and fucking Scum Girl are like on the main, they're in the mainstream. They are mortal, but Big Red is immortalized all over the internet. Like, she is the face of feminism. Like, it's her and that woman that was screaming at the sun, you know, no! I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we need to have a full Karen experience. So bring it back to the beginning.
It'll go back to right here. Your beliefs of your question.
Gender version of the white nationalist movement.
We're not blaming men. We just named everything bad after them.
Well, joining now from San Francisco is Red Pill documentary maker Cassie J. So, Cassie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How did this change things for you?
Oh, complete, well, I don't know about a 180, but I can summarize that I started out as a very staunch feminist of about 10 years before making the Red Pill documentary. And after about 3.5 years until I completed the film, I no longer call myself a feminist. I'm also not a men's rights activist, but I definitely see both sides, and I find myself somewhere in the middle where I can understand both perspectives.
What was the biggest revelation to you when you got into your research and started talking to some of the participants in the documentary?
Gosh, well, I mean,
I'm going to pause it there for a moment. So, Cassie has had 2 kids since she married her boyfriend. So at the time, she was dating this guy. Very nice guy, by the way. I met him at a couple of ICMIs, I think.
Yes.
I got along with him right away. You know, he reminds me of an old friend of mine from Chicago. He's very reminiscent of that guy. And she said that when she was making the movie, she was dating him, but she wasn't sure she wanted to marry him. Like, she was actually, I wouldn't say she was thinking about breaking up, but she was definitely like not thinking about, like, you know, being tied down, you know, like this. She was, when Cassie J says she's feminist, she was feminist. Like, she was not, you know, flirting with this. She was like dyed in the wool. She actually made the documentary, for anybody who's new, she made the documentary in order to debunk the men's movement, to like expose them as misogynists. But because she has integrity and did the work and talked to the people in the movement and got to know them and understand where they were coming from, even Paul, who's probably one of the more abrasive parts, you know, because like Warren Farrell, you'll probably walk away going, how can I hate this guy? He's basically a teddy bear. But Paul's the opposite of that, right? And she was like, but see, that was what Paul does well, is he gets your attention, and then you want to understand why he feels that way. And if you're somebody who wants to learn the truth, you'll learn that. Anyway, so since then, after when she actually changed her mind was not while she was making the film, but while she was editing the film. This is a conversation that I had with her when I did the interview way back when we were in Australia, and she said that she changed her mind during the editing of the film, not the making of the film. So she was still ready to, like, you know, make this like hit piece, but when she did the editing, she was like, I was wrong about a lot, right? And since then, it also changed her relationship. And this was another thing I talked to her about when I did the interview, was that, like, she found that this man that helped her make these movies, that was involved from the get-go, he was like ride or die, and she married him, and then they had children together, and she's on her second child. Her first child actually was a miscarriage, which was really tragic. So she's actually had 3 attempts. But and she was gonna make a documentary about miscarriages.
She has said that she's making that public, right? Or
yeah, she made that public. Yeah, because she was gonna make a documentary about miscarriage, based on that experience. So, but yeah, so Cassie J has been like completely transformed. I follow her on Instagram, and I would suggest that you follow her on Instagram too. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't do anything on Instagram except for follow a couple of people, but Cassie is one of them. So.
Okay.
Laundry list of men's issues just goes on and on and on, and we don't have enough time to discuss each one, but suicide rates, 78% of all suicides are men. Workplace fatalities, 93% in the US are men. There's child custody issues, there's child support, imprisonment for failure to pay child support. There's many issues. I could go on and on if you'd like.
I find it interesting that some of those things that you're describing don't get much airtime in terms of the suicide rates, the fatality rates on the job.
Because what?
People bring in clowns like that. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
Ultimately, he had a good point, but really, he turned everything back to talking about women instead of talking about men's issues. Sorry, guys, I have to get used to getting close into the mic, in order to improve the sound. But you know, like that's. Are you looking Cassie up on Instagram there, Brian?
Yeah, I'm looking at Cassie's picture with.
Aw. Yeah.
I was just curious about, like, but anyway.
Okay.
and that sort of thing. That's not the kind of equality that women talk about wanting. They want different kinds of equality, but there are risks associated with that as well. And you agree with that, right?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, as we gain equality in this world, we're going to see a lot of discomfort and a lot of things that make both sides uncomfortable. And I think what we've seen from your conversation.
We're not, but no one's going to make women go to the mines and like mine coal. Like, that's not going to happen. They're not going to send women to war. They're not going to send women to like lay down tar on the, you know, like asphalt on the street. That's not going to happen. Like, why are we pretending like as we become more equal, like women are going to be more uncomfortable? Maybe. Like, that's not going to happen because, well, I mean, as it should be, men and women should have choices in their life. Unless you're going to start forcing women to like take out the like be garbage collectors and sewer workers and like, you know, like work on I don't know, like electric power lines, like, you know, like unless you're going to make them do that, this is just not going to happen. Like, this is such a joke. It's such a joke. But anyway.
Yeah.
Great Indoors just sent us a super chow for $5 and he didn't say anything. So I don't know if he meant to like say
really
something.
Odd. Okay, let me see what's going on in the back here.
And Albert Nader Retro gave us, I'll do that in a second. Albert Nader Retro gave us $2 Canadian, says Cassie's husband worked on Ant-Man and the Wasp. Did he really? I know that they work in the business. I mean, I'm happy for him, but not a great movie. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, not his fault. I'm sure that he wasn't like involved with the writing, but Anyway.
Is that there's actually a lot more common ground than we realize, but it's when nobody speaks. I mean, obviously we have an extreme here with Jack, and I think everyone here, I know, I feel sorry for Jack. I feel that he's obviously suffering and feels that by other people suffering, he will alleviate his own suffering.
How are you suffering because he's suffering? Like, honestly, like, lady.
Like, he's not going to make anyone suffer if the only thing he's doing is not dating women and he's, like, dating dudes. Like,
suffering from him.
It's the words. He's saying mean words, Allison.
Yeah.
He's basically cat turd. This is cat turd personified. That's what this is. I'm calling it. This is my headcanon. That guy is cat turd. Maybe
I missed a gland that's handed out to women at birth, but I don't care. Boyfriend, let him hate women. Who cares?
Yeah, right. Who cares?
Problem solved. Move on.
He likely doesn't, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I honestly think that what he hates is the idea that he can't be loved by a woman. That's it.
Yeah.
But you know what? If he's genuinely able to find happiness with a man, I think that's great. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's what he wants, and he's doing it, fine. Like, I don't think it's a good idea to date another person out of spite, which, you know, really gets to a lot of feminist approaches to things. But, you know, don't do things out of spite, because that's ultimately not very helpful and not very healthy for yourself. But if he's happy, he's happy. If he's found happiness with a man, all power to him. And it's like a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger. This man is a nothing burger. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like none of these are, I don't know, there's something
very shallow,
not genuine about most of these conversations. Like, there's just not a real conversation. This is why TV is dying.
Okay, I gotta thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the Great Indoors gives us $100. So thank you, Great Indoors. I really appreciate you coming in.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So we basically have like $90 left just to fill in that gap. And I'm really sorry about the I don't know, the fake out goal. It just ended up that we had like a bit of a fall. I can't give you the word. We just had a gap that needed to be covered last minute. So
okay.
Let us continue.
All right.
If Brian wishes it.
I am suffering, and I've suffered at the hands of women. And as far as taking away women's rights and what I talked about before, I think that would be a better situation for them, where they would be happier.
And when you say less rights, what kind of rights are you saying should be taken away from women?
Let's make it. Let's predict. Let's predict. What do you think he's gonna say? What do you think he's gonna say, guys? What right?
Who knows? Oh, but like, why are we talking about women's rights? Like, why is all the air in the room being sucked out again?
All you gotta do is mention women, and it'll go away.
Okay, I have no interest in what this man. Okay, like what? Okay, this random dude just fell out of someone's closet. Just like poop, bam, he's there. Oh yeah, let's put him on. Let's find out what he thinks about women's rights, and so we don't have to talk to Warren Farrell about the problems facing men. Like,
yeah,
I am not impressed by this. Nor am I taken in by this bullshit. Okay, let's get it over with, shall we say?
Well, I don't think they should have the right to vote. I don't think they should be allowed in the workplace. I think they should.
Well, good luck. You're gonna have to convince them of that.
Honestly, I think they should be forced to stay home and submit to a man.
Yeah.
You hear the crowd?
Women's liberation, madam, will never survive.
Oh my God, it's so funny. It's so funny how traumatized the audience gets at this random guy saying this. Like, it doesn't. It just.
That's the thing. It's like where did they go? They go like to like some homeless park in the city and grab this guy and say, "Hey, if you say a bunch of bullshit."
I know. What? Right? You want to be? Hey, you want to be famous, kid? Just say repeal the 19th and watch the screams.
Why
and then like
talking about this.
The fact that this reaction even manifests it doesn't really make a good case for women. I'm sorry, ladies, but if you're reacting to this random guy saying this in this way, like you're just so aghast, like what does that say about you?
Like you don't follow through it logically. Okay, who's gonna vote to get rid of women's vote? Well, it's gonna happen to women. All right, well then don't do that. Don't do it. Just don't do it, ladies. Just don't. And the other thing is that I don't know. I don't even know why we need to. This guy is taking attention away from men's issues, and I think that's the essential point.
I think it is too, yeah. I mean, like, why wouldn't there's plenty of more qualified people. They literally have the trailer for the Red Pill. They could have literally talked to Paul or Karen or, well, and like they could have been online. I mean, maybe Paul was approached and he was like, fuck that, I'm not going on there. I don't know, maybe, but Harry Crouch, you could have talked to him. Yeah, I mean,
like you could talk to somebody who actually talks about men's issues. Like this is not a men's issue. This is talking about women's rights. It's not a men's issue. This separate thing. Like.
Yeah, but if they don't treat it like a zero-sum game, though, see, that's another thing is they have to make it into this competition, carnival. Which it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
It's carnival.
Oh. Unbelievable. How could verboten?
I'm actually really pissed on behalf of Cassie because now they're making her answer to this dipshit that they found.
Yeah, they are gonna make her. They are. Yeah.
Like
this is that.
I'm gonna say something really rude. Beady-eyed.
Respond.
You beady-eyed, cue ball-headed dipshit.
Really make it clear that Jack, the incel, does not represent the men's rights movement. So he is absolutely an extremist that I certainly disagree with. I'm sure Dr. Warren Farrell does. Clear.
What do you disagree with?
Why should he have to answer to this? Why?
Why believed in and supported women's rights, and they are.
Why are they bringing this random extremist? Why don't they just go to the average feminist academia and just find someone with tenure and then bring her on, and she'll say even more radical stuff than he is.
They could do that. I'd be surprised if there were any feminists willing to actually engage, because whenever they do, they get demolished. Michael Kimmel.
This is their new strategy.
Yeah, bring on either bring on a crazy person or create a crazy person.
Is
and
he
then just bring them
or
on.
is there something like, or is he just looking down?
Oh, he was probably promised some fentanyl or something to do this. I have no idea. This is just really not real to me.
And I love the background too.
Cassie,
it's really
yeah, he's like in a. Is that a cell?
Lord.
All right, let's see Cassie's.
They constantly do shit like this. Like she should not have to answer to him. This is a waste of time. This is a waste of everyone's time. You have brought two of the most important voices in men's issues onto your show. I know that Cassie doesn't identify as a men's rights activist, but she is an important voice in men's issues, and so is Warren Farrell. And you have this joker, and he is derailing everything. And this is what's so infuriating, because I think that's the point.
Yeah, he is. I think that is the point.
Why they also care about men's rights.
But women are less than men. Women are lower than men.
Oh, good Lord!
I truly believe this.
Our men's rights.
You see that? You see his face? He's got the duper's delight.
Yeah, I know. He's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got a fentanyl package just out of sight, saying, "Hey, good." Clap for it, Seal.
Yeah.
Clap for it. And I know there's guys who have these opinions, and they're also not men's rights activists, nor are they interested in men's issues. Most of these guys couldn't give a crap about child custody or men being raped and experiencing domestic violence with no services or false accusations. Maybe they care about false accusations or circumcision or any of all of the various issues that people who actually care about men think about. Like there's no connection between caring about those issues and saying women need their rights taken away, except that so far, despite being the drivers of our political system, women have yet to take responsibility for the issues that men face. And yes, it is women's responsibility. Like, men take responsibility for protecting and providing for women when they aren't able to do it for themselves. Women should do the same for men. Full stop. And I don't think we're going to go forward until that happens. Like, this is what we need to figure out, to straighten out and figure out. This is the thing. This is the question that the human race now has. And we got to figure it out, or we're not going forward. There is no future. And it's not going to be figured out by, women will vote to get rid of their own vote. Well, maybe once you figure out women taking responsibility for all of society, not just themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And there is no way to argue that this is not the case, because there's all kinds of narratives right now excusing women for not having to take responsibility for society. And it starts with, society oppresses women, men oppress women. Right there, right in that narrative, which is central to our society, is the narrative that women do not have to take responsibility for their control or their power in society. All they need to do is make society serve them. That is not a functional attitude long term, right? Okay. But regardless, how do you get women to vote, to get rid of their vote, without dealing with the issue of women taking responsibility for their power? That requires women taking responsibility for their power. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going.
If one wants to understand the men's issues movement, see Cassie J's Red Pill, and also pay attention to exactly what you were talking about before.
It's like Warren Farrell's tried to salvage something.
It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, because he knows it's a setup. He's got to know. He's like, well, okay, just go watch Cassie's movie. This is a waste of your time. That is not,
He's trying to salvage something.
Women need the help of men to raise the children, and what's often happening with boys today is that the boys that are part of the boy crisis resides where dads do not reside. Children who are not raised by dad, don't have dad involvement, are hurt in more than 50 different areas, including suicide, drug addiction, homicide.
Sure. Mr. Farrell, can we just agree on one thing? That if Jack is the man in the family, the children and the mother should run like hell in the other direction, because you don't need him. It's better to have a one-parent family, than have him anywhere near any child.
What a gong show!
Yeah, of course, right? And of course, he gets applause. See, the women and these women are not even like really thinking about what Warren Farrell is saying. They're in the emotional zone, because this woman is essentially making the women in the audience relive the trauma of this random dude on their panel that said women shouldn't vote and they should stay home and raise children. And she's like, you're going to relive this, and I'm going to make Warren Farrell answer for that somehow.
Yeah, and why does he have to answer for this idiot? Or not even an idiot. Like, I mean, he made a good point. But let's hear it. Let's hear the end of it.
All right, let me go back a little bit.
And the mother should run like hell in the other direction, because you don't need him. It's better to have a one-parent family,
Derailing.
one woman, than have him anywhere near any child.
Well, he's gay, so it doesn't freaking matter.
I think we can agree about that. Look, I've got to take a break. We've heard a lot of opinions from some of the leading figures in the field of men and women's rights.
Who are these women? How are they leading figures?
We'll be right back.
Oh, good Lord. What a circus.
You remember, can I just say, you remember when we did a multi-person panel debate on that one channel on Twitch? The Flock or the Wick TV or whatever it was. And you said afterwards, these are not serious people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you understate how normal that conversation is, because this is the same conversation. You could say these aren't serious people either. These people are all over television, all over the internet. Everyone is seeing that. So this is normie content, just like that was normie content. So unfortunately, this is like where we should be batting at. I mean, like, that's where people are. So this is why I felt that even though we could dismiss those conversations as not serious, I think the truth is that it's closer to normal, because this is actually like less interesting than that was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I got what you're saying. I do
Okay.
have. Let's do a little bit more, and then I got to do a thank you. So.
All right.
Not
Well, this is the
got to. I really
break.
appreciate the fact that I have to do a thank you. But you notice, I want to point something out. You notice how Warren Farrell was actually getting to the point of talking about a men's issue, right?
Yeah.
And then they just completely derailed it. She completely derailed it to return to talking about women. And you notice that?
Yep.
Okay, let's keep
Are
going.
we as a society discriminating against and attacking men for simply being who they are? Or are certain groups of men being emasculated by the steady growth of the women's rights movement? Now, these are just some of the...
What's the difference? What is the... Wait. Can I hear that again? Tell me the difference between these two comparisons that Dr. Phil's bringing up, because I'm confused. Let me go back a little bit more.
And attacking men for simply being who they are.
Wait.
Are we as a society discriminating against and attacking men for simply being who they are? Or are certain groups of men being emasculated by the steady growth of the women's rights movement? Now, these...
What's the difference? Like, I mean, when you say certain groups of men, well, yeah, but like, okay, maybe when he says certain groups of men are feeling emasculated, he's saying that it's either happening to all men and it's undeserved, or it's happening to certain men, but it is deserved. Maybe that's what he means by that?
No.
Because if you're a man that feels upset by this or feels emasculated, it's on you. But if we as a society are attacking men in mass, but just for being who they are, well, then maybe that's a problem. You know? I mean, it sounds like there's no difference, but I think that's the difference. I think that it's like you're either in the camp of men that can take the heat, or you're in the camp of men that can't take the heat.
These are just some of the questions that we've been discussing this past hour and that rage on the internet. And, you know, I just want to say my position on this is you listen to extremists that get out in, you know, the real far reaches where they leave logic behind and they start taking radical positions. And
if you're referring to the plant, I think that it doesn't matter. Like, if you think that becoming gay is radical, I mean, dude, it's the current year.
Sort of homophobic there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, so the guy became gay. Okay. I mean, maybe his trauma comes from his mother. I mean, but like, I mean, we would ask, but you know,
you can't ask.
Who cares? He has the wrong opinions.
Okay, before you continue, just let me get in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So the person that we brought in to derail the discussion, what do we think about this person? I think that you brought him in to derail the discussion.
Yeah.
To frame it and to take it away from discussing men's issues. And you have to realize that men see this. Men see the lengths that you go to avoid actually addressing the issues that they have. And they have to live in a society that will not, like, how long have I been doing this? I have not seen, let me put it this way. I have not seen significant progress in society dealing with men's issues. What I've seen is significant progress in society destroying itself because it isn't dealing with men's issues, which, you know, there's a difference there. And I hope people understand that. We're going to beat our heads against this until women take responsibility, and they'll either have to take responsibility to take away their vote, or they'll have to take responsibility for our society to be able to sustain it. And there is no way that men can't have a voice in our society and have a sustainable society. All right. So yeah, that's what I think about that extremist. And you know, bring on some female extremists. And also, I would point out that, in my opinion, saying that men oppress women is extremism. It's never been proven. It is an outrageous statement to say that the male half of a species would do anything but be either, if the female half isn't in need of them, they just screw off and do their own thing, or if the female half is in need of them, they stick around and help. Like, those are the two options in the wild and in evolution. That's it. Well, I mean, there's some variations between those two options, but those are the two extremes. Nowhere does the male animal, for example, eat the head of the female animal after he impregnates her, for obvious reasons. So this whole narrative of oppression is an unproven extremism right from the start. All right, let's. I could go on, but I don't want to, because I don't want to. I want to.
We're gonna keep going.
That's where you create this divide. But I think if you talk to intelligent people about coming together, all of those things fall away. Because let me tell you something. If I go through a windshield and have a head injury and wind up in the hospital, and I look up and the finest surgeon there is a mother instead of a father, I could care less.
Yeah, but again, this is kind of a stupid thing, because nobody's saying women, like, again, unless you're responding to the golem, nobody's saying that. But you might be a little worried if the hospital was using DEI practices, and that's why there's a woman there. So, like, there is an argument to be made that maybe it's like when you get on a plane and there's a female pilot and you look up the company that, like, you know, then they're like, oh yeah, we have DEI scores really high because look at all of the female pilots we have. Then I think that if you're worried, that's okay because it's rational, right? But yeah, if she is a surgeon, right, if she is a surgeon on the basis of meritocracy, like when I had cancer, or I guess technically you say you still have it, but when I had cancer and I had to get an operation, the surgeon that removed my tumors was a woman. And I knew that she came highly recommended. Like, I looked at her accreditation. I didn't do it because she was a woman. I did it because my life was on the line and I was a bit concerned, period. And she did fine. Yes, that, like, this is like, why are you even saying this? Like, who are you arguing against?
Because they brought in the shit golem in order to make like, seriously, create an argument they could actually argue against. Because then, I mean, it's basically what they did was they brought in somebody to take the aggro, like, because they couldn't deal with Cassie and Dr. Farrell. Like, literally, they can't deal with these two people, so they bring in the shit golem and they argue with him instead, and all of this stuff, and so they can start.
Well, the shit golem sets the tone.
Yeah, they can start making simplistic assertions like this and make it meaningful. Like, the shit golem has changed the entire discussion, the entire universe of discussion to that. And yeah, I know there's men in the comments who be like, but I also agree with him. Great. Well, unfortunately, we still have to get through the stage of convincing women to take responsibility. Like, before we get to the stage of getting them to vote away their rights. So, and at that point, like, the problem is solved. So whatever. But regardless, my overall point is that now they are making it legitimate to have these simplistic conclusions, empty-headed, vacuous conclusions like this. And again, we're not even talking about men's issues. We're talking about whether or not we respect female surgeons. Are you, again, and that's because of their freaking their fed pilled plant. Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
What I want is the finest surgeon that is there.
Oh, look at the women. Oh yes. Ladies, stop and think.
And
you're embarrassing yourselves.
Like women shouldn't be in the workforce is idiotic. This country would collapse.
Oh, for the love of God.
Oh my God, this country would collapse. Actually, we'd be hurting, but we'd be okay. It's men that would quit for like an hour that would kill people, but okay.
How why did they bring on Cassie and Warren Farrell? You know what, when Warren Farrell was just like going down and saying, watch the red pill, this was just basically him giving up on this entire discussion.
Yeah.
Like he's literally, you could see it in his eyes. He's like, oh, okay, this is another one of these. And then he's like, watch the red pill.
When has it not? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's almost always this. This is like bread and circuses, you know?
I know Jubilee has contacted me to come on And I'm with great pleasure, I'm going to tell them that the immigration lawyer said it was a bad idea, so they can go fuck themselves. Because this is exactly what's going to happen. I will talk.
I'll go.
Yeah, sure, you go. I'll ask Paul if he wants to go, and Harry. You know, like, get some people in the U.S. to go. But I'm not fucking going, because I know it's probably going to be some shit like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
Didn't have that talent pool in America. There's no question that the pendulum swings too far, and when you get guilt by accusation and someone's life is wrecked because of a zeitgeist, something that's blowing through society.
I guess like I got Me Too'd or something, and his life was ruined.
That is an injustice. And there are injustices to women, there are injustices to men. And that's something that has to do with justice and human rights. And to me, that's not gender specific. That's on both sides of the gender
Then why
divide.
did you bring on
matter.
this stupid clown?
It's happened to women who have been raped and get excoriated and humiliated on cross-examination and shamed out of taking their...
Oh my God, we're talking about this now? You know, I saw a clip, speaking of rape and rape allegations, I saw a clip where, on the whatever podcast, but it was like a serious conversation with this guy named Officer Tatum, who's this guy who's like a cop, or maybe he's an ex-cop, and he makes videos, and they were asking, he was talking about false allegations of domestic violence and sexual assault and stuff. And he said that in all of his years as a cop, 99% of women who claimed abuses or whatever were lying. Like, he said it was in the overwhelming, like almost all cases. He said he dealt with maybe like 2 or 3 real cases of a woman being abused, and that most of them were untrue. And he said, and he was lamenting like how, you know, this is bad because like there are no consequences. So, you know, you basically incentivize it, and that it makes it harder for women to step forward. I don't think that's true. I think that you just do it.
Make it
like,
harder for women if 90%.
I know, but like I'm saying, no, I mean like women who are real victims, I guess. But I don't think that's true. I think that's just him trying to throw a bone to women. But the point about the in his experience, I know it's anecdotal, but in his experience, maybe I can find it. That is actually quite telling. And I mean, again, you know, I think that like we're all like these people, they're just like operating under this fog of lies about our whole society and the relationship between men and women, and they're still trying to make, like, Dr. Phil's trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and he is so incorrect, you know, because he's like both sides, and that's all. Like, the enlightened centrism drives me up the fucking wall.
Yes,
pardon my
both
French.
sides. Only one side is being empowered by the government.
Yes, right. And so when you do that, it's like you don't get it. Like you haven't heard anything. We're back at square zero.
Yeah, to even be outside of this framework, you have to just be like, nope, I don't believe that men oppress women, and you are going to have to prove that if you want to assert it. You're going to have to give me the evidence.
Right.
And the fact that men have authority, even authority over women, does not mean they oppress them. You have to look at the consequences of that authority. And if the consequences of that authority is that women are better off than men, then obviously it's not oppressive authority. Like, by definition.
Yeah.
Like, oppression has to be cruel. It has to be unjust. And if the people in authority are making a better situation for the people they have authority over, then that is not unjust or cruel. By definition. That doesn't mean that I advocate for men having authority over women. Why? Because I can see how throughout history that framework has been used to remove men's compassion for men, or the expectation that they don't constantly sacrifice for women. So anyway, that is my opinion on that. And once you're in that framework of men oppress women, like that's it. Like you're basically in that world, and we are all on that. Like, you've basically sat down on the roller coaster ride of men oppress women, and you're there. You're going on that ride. That's it. That's you got to get out. If you want to get off the ride, you have to get out of believing that men oppress women. or at least just believing it by rote, right? You have to be able to ask that question, okay? But and is as far as where I'm sitting, it's extremism to believe that half the human race suppresses the other half that they require to even reproduce. The most critically important evolutionary pressure. Men require women to reproduce, right? And we are not a species that does. We are actually not a species that does the rape thing, or at least And what I mean by that is we have a concept of consent. Other species don't. Okay, so we have. Well, actually, let me put it this way: we have rape because we are so much about the opposite. So rape becomes a horrifying thing.
Well, we're the only ones that would call it rape. Other animals would just call it breeding.
Yeah,
so. Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, okay, let's finish this off because there's a good bit at the end.
Position, it's just as unjust in that situation. So, if
good,
we
ironically,
can just
or good?
simply stop judging and start looking for common ground, then we'll find answers. Because, to me, everybody has something to contribute if we'll just take the blinders off and recognize it. Okay, are men the new minority?
Obvious. Okay, so are men the new minority? I don't like this question. But...
That's the question I asked my audience at the start of the hour. I'll have the results right here, and I'll be revealing them next.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is what we get to see.
This is the.
I asked the virtual audience this question: are men the new minority? And here are the results. 21% said yes, and 79% said no.
All right, so you can see who voted what. The only ones that voted yes looks like it's almost all men. That's a man. That's a man. And then of the ones that said no, it was men and women said no. So men are not.
He made an interesting point, and basically he said that a society doesn't survive unless it somehow makes its sons disposable. And this is sort of a reflection of that. What they really mean by are men a minority is, should we care about their issues? And of course, they overwhelmingly vote no. We should continue to not care because we want to keep men disposable. And they don't know that's what they're doing. That men should still be defined solely in how they protect and provide for women, not in terms of their own needs. Like, you would have to actually be like, I am a man, my needs are legitimate. And that's the horrifying thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They want you to keep
this is the thing, though.
In order to really exist, I have to protect and provide for others. Okay.
They've already invested in this idea that men can't be a minority. And they've invested so much into it that to even consider that they're completely wrong about that is going to cause them tremendous pain. And so they have to double down. This is why they always double down.
Okay, well, what's interesting about this?
It's mostly men that said yes. So there's actually men that recognize that they're... And, I mean, look, I don't like the question, are men the new minority? I don't like the question because I think it's tricky, because some people might have said no just based on oh, well, statistically, they can't be a minority because, they're half the population. Maybe a little less than half, but that doesn't make them a minority per se. So I don't like the framing of the question, but if the question is really, are men a group deserving of more recognition for their issues, and do boys need those issues addressed? I just don't like the framing of the question. I think it's a bit of a tricky question in the way that it's framed. I think it's ugly, but I do think that the men who voted yes do understand the question, because they do see that, and of course people are going to vote against this, but this is okay because it just shines light on, again, why do we do this? And it just tells you, just people, to the overwhelming majority of the population is just not ready for this conversation, and they're not willing to have it. So
that's unfortunate, but we need to make sure that there is some people know what the hell happened when it happens and why it happened. So and then when we are in a position of rebuilding, they'll have the wisdom, hopefully,
well, and
to address this stuff.
The other thing about this too is when you use the word minority, and you're talking to an audience that's overwhelmingly female, you are asking women, do they see men in the same way that they see other purse puppy groups, like trans people, like black people, whatever, right? So because this is an audience of mostly women, and it's women that sort of like drive our current culture is highly feminine, not just because of, well, it is, but I mean, like, there's the intersectional, like feminine, or the intersectional feminist thing where they're like taking these like oppressed groups and they're putting them in their little categories and saying, I'm going to care for this thing. But and regular women or other women or whatever, non-intersectional women, they're saying, can you see this group as a minority? But it doesn't work because they're like, no, because in order for me to be able to say I care about trans people, I care about black people, I care about, lesbians, whatever, they would have to be a group that I care about more than another group, and the only other group is always men. So they can't, by definition, they can't be a minority.
They can't put men over the minorities in the first place.
Right, they can't occupy that space, so that they have to reject it.
What this poll really is saying to the men who voted yes or no is, do you identify as a protector and provider of women, or are you capable of recognizing your needs? And they say no. And the funny thing is that they'll say, well, that's toxic masculinity, so we can ignore the downsides of it. But that's essentially what this is. This is asking men, do you care about your needs? Do you identify with your needs? No, I identify with women's needs. And it asks women, do you identify men with having needs, or do you identify men with serving your needs? No, I identify men with serving my needs. Well, that locks men into a position of stoic, and it locks women into a position of child.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
finish it off.
So there you have it. I have to say, from my point of view, just so you know, there would be no Dr. Phil show without women, because probably 85 to 90% of my staff is female. My executive producer is female. My director is female. So I got to say, you ain't taking them out of my workforce.
Well, and I guess they're also still oppressed. Okay.
Good luck with that.
I guess you got us.
Warren Farrell, like, I could just see the process in his mind when this happened. It's just like, this is a waste. I'm just going to try to get the most I can get out of this. I'm just going to chill the red pill at the end. And
well, you know what he's really saying though when he says that. What Dr. Phil's really saying is, I don't hate women. Like, that's it. Like, I love women. I respect women. I respect women so much. I basically, like, my whole career and livelihood depends on their competence and their approval. My audience is women. Like, this is the thing. He has to do that because his audience is women. So, like, and again, because he could say something out of pocket, like, he probably saw what happened to the audience reaction to their golem, and he was like, well, I'll never say that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my life destroyed. Also, women don't have any power.
Or I'd be down here with a sketch artist and a flashlight trying to do this broadcast. So no way that's happening. I want to thank all of my guests today, seriously. And for more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. I know the conversation will be hot and heavy. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. So that's
they use the shit golem to dismiss everything. Like, it's basically they put him out there, and he's like, well, pay attention to this. It gives you the excuse to dismiss everything that these guys talk about, and that's it. That's what happened. They just basically said, yeah, you don't have to care about this. Look at the shit golem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, god damn. This is not
the comments
conversation.
The comments are pretty good. Some of them are people that watch us. Yes, Jay Damali said, Dr. Phil is not the right person to hold these discussions. His audience is women, never mind him being about as gynocentric as they come, so he's incapable of engaging factually and thoughtfully. It would estrange his audience. And someone responded saying 100% correct. Dr. Phil knows his female audience demographic very well and will retune any discussion to appeal to them more. And that's exactly why he's so gynocentric to begin with. Somebody else said, to see who rules over you, find somebody you're not allowed to criticize. Women. That's why Phil was groveling before them in closing remarks. Yes, because they were probably giving him the dagger eyes too. So yeah, like, of course it turned out the way I expected. But at least the chat, like the comment section, is pretty based. Dr. Phil knows how to get an audience by throwing people together who would never get along in real life. Warren Farrell is the voice of reason between these extremes of gender views. So is Cassie J. When that man-hating feminist took issue with Warren Farrell about dad-deprived boys, she went straight for the man-bashing narrative that single mothers are better than having an abusive man in the house. What a hateful conclusion that has nothing to do with Warren's point. This is why people have an issue with feminism today. I mean, they should have had it throughout all time. It's not because they want to take rights away from women. When women suffer, we say it's systemic. When men suffer, we say it's their fault. So anyway, this Jack type works as a straw man, probably why he's in the show. Yes. Somebody said, nailed it. Yeah, I don't even know who that is. Like, this, so stupid. A lot of people are basically like on the same page, though. I don't see a lot of people celebrating this. Don't disparage Fred Flintstone. He treated his wife well. He did. Yeah. So this is mostly Dr. Warren Farrell's audience, though, to be fair. Anyway, so that's it. That's the video. You guys have any thoughts on that? You want to send a Super Chow or something? Allison? What are you doing? Uh-oh. It dropped. Recording continues normally for everyone else. When a participant's internet disconnects, the rest of the studio is not impacted. Okay. I'm just going to refresh. Hopefully this works. What the hell? I gotta do this over again. All right, I'm back, but Allison's not. Oh, there she is. Allison, it's still recording.
Yeah, you're
right. I don't. What happened? Did it drop again? All right. Do you want to do any closing remarks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
it dropped for both of us.
Okay, because it's going to just screw the entire recording up if we do this too long. So feedthebadger.com/support to help us out for the month. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us your comments to avoid the YouTube comment enhancement system, shall we say. And thank you for joining us. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties that we're still trying to iron out. I'm not sure what happened here, but we'll keep endeavoring to work this out and make it all work. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notification. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. You'll find a link to Dr. Warren Farrell's original video in the description. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Sorry I didn't read all the other super chats I got, but I did read them. I just didn't read them aloud. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we'll talk to you all in the next one.
Sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.